Think back to that momentous year of 1972. You may not have been born then, or you may have been too young to understand world news, but that year could have been the day when the whole world of our science almost collapsed. Why? All because of 0.003%. Doesn't that seem a little serious to you? Well, wait a minute. That year, in a laboratory at a uranium enrichment plant in France, someone noticed an unusual feature in uranium samples from Oklo, Gabon. The uranium-235 isotope, an atom with the same charge but a different number of neutrons and correspondingly different mass, which normally makes up about 0.720% of uranium, was 0.003% smaller. If you don't really care how much uranium-235 is in your uranium, let me explain. Uranium-235 is a special isotope of uranium that looks like an apple among pears. It is involved in nuclear chain reactions, making nuclear reactors work. It's the isotope that makes atomic energy possible. It is a kind of superstar among uranium isotopes. So when the uranium-235 number suddenly dropped, it was like having a grain less sugar in your coffee instead of the usual amount. Would you have noticed that? Probably not. Now imagine that this grain of sugar is the key to understanding the entire solar system. That's how much weight this small deviation carried for scientists. It was like a huge earthquake, only 0.003%. So, are you ready to find out how this little blip in the data almost turned the world upside down? Scientists didn't just shrug their shoulders at this 0.003 difference. After all, in science, as in a detective story, every tiny detail matters. Take for example the fact that the concentration of uranium-235 in nature is usually the same all over the planet and in the entire solar system as far as we know. So when the percentage of uranium-235 in uranium hexafluoride began to behave like a teenager on the rebellious side, scientists immediately fussed. They set up a commission to get to the bottom of this naughty isotope. At first, scientists speculated that there might have been an error in the uranium samples. This would be like confusing salt with sugar in a culinary recipe. The result may be unexpected, but such an error is quite possible at a superficial glance, since both substances are visually similar. However, after careful scrutiny, they were convinced that everything was fine with uranium. The scientists then considered the possibility of a technical error in the production process, but this theory was also rejected, so they kept looking. And they found that the unique uranium samples were mined in the Oklo pit in Gabon. The study also found that some of the uranium samples from the Oklo pit had even lower concentrations of uranium-235, only 0.44%. The scientists were shocked. It was simply unbelievable. It had never happened before that the isotopic composition of uranium depended on where it was mined. At this point, the scientists felt like detectives in a popular TV series when they suddenly uncover a major clue. They recalled the work of Zeldovich and other scientists who had hypothesized the possibility of a natural nuclear reactor billions of years ago. The idea had been dismissed at the time as too fantastic, but now it didn't seem so crazy. After 3 months of scrutinizing the field, they concluded that Oklo was indeed home to a natural nuclear reactor about 2 billion years ago. To understand how this amazing day in the life of the Earth began, we need to travel back in time some 2.1 billion years. Back in the days when the only inhabitants of the Earth were microscopic organisms actively reproducing and breathing in the fresh pre-dawn air. These little creatures, which we know as eukaryotes, were changing the planet by absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. This oxygen oxidized uranium to form uranium oxides, which were then washed away by rain into an ancient river. As a result of these processes, a layer of uranium-rich sandstone was formed at the mouth of the ancient river, which then formed the Oklo deposit. Under the influence of geological processes and time, this uranium layer sank to a depth of about 4 kilometers. Over time, water penetrated the cracks in the sandstone layers, turning the deposit into its own natural nuclear reactor. Who would have thought it? The process was as follows. A neutron hit a uranium-235 nucleus, creating an unstable isotope of uranium-236. This isotope would split into 2 fragment nuclei and 3 neutrons, which would then continue the chain reaction. Water played a key role in Oklo. It was poured into the lens, slowing down the 3 neutrons to such a speed that they did not bounce off the uranium nucleus, but hit and stayed in it, and also water absorbed heat, which was released by neutrons and fragment nuclei during deceleration. After evaporation of water from a natural nuclear reactor, the reaction quickly faded and resumed only when the lens was again filled with water. This natural nuclear reactor has been in operation for periods of about 600,000 years. During all that time, it produced about 15,000 megawatt years of energy, which is pretty impressive considering it was billions of years ago. So, next time you're enjoying your morning coffee, think about the fact that Earth once had a natural nuclear reactor that operated millions of years ago, creating energy and changing our planet in such an extraordinary way. Suddenly, scientists find they have a new discovery that could overturn all notions of how the world works. The most interesting thing about this discovery is how it affects our theories about the origin of the solar system. After all, if uranium-235 can behave differently in different places, it calls into question everything we thought we knew about the formation of planets and stars. It's as if you discovered that your coffee tastes better when you drink it sitting on the couch rather than at a table. What does that say about how coffee works? Or perhaps about how your couch works? Just as important, however, was Oklo's contribution to research into the safe storage of nuclear waste. After all, if Oklo's radioactive elements were able to remain safely in place for billions of years, perhaps we can do the same with our nuclear waste. Finally, scientists have suggested that the reactor may have influenced the evolution of single-celled organisms in the vicinity. Think of how caffeine can speed up your metabolism and make you more energetic. So, perhaps these microorganisms got a boost from the nuclear reactor and went through their own biological caffeine spurt in evolution. The discovery at Oklo turned our view of the world upside down, opened new horizons for research, and even helped us understand how to better manage nuclear waste. It was like discovering that there's even more flavor in your coffee than you thought. All thanks to the fact that once upon a time, a long time ago, uranium decided to behave a little strangely. To summarize, the story of the natural nuclear reactor at Oklo is a story of how sometimes the smallest deviations can lead to the grandest discoveries. The significance of the Oklo discovery cannot be overemphasized. It has not only revolutionized our understanding of natural nuclear processes, but has also opened new avenues for research into nuclear safety and the evolution of life. This discovery has shown us that nature is capable of amazing things that we previously thought were only possible as a result of human activity. As for the future, the possibilities for further research and discovery in this field are almost limitless. Scientists are still actively studying the Oklo deposit, trying to learn more about how a natural nuclear reactor works and what other amazing phenomena may be occurring in our universe. Oklo taught us a valuable lesson about the importance of paying attention to small details. A tiny change in the percentage of uranium-235 led to a discovery that has turned our understanding of natural nuclear processes upside down and given new impetus to nuclear energy and safety research.